Good morning. What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to the Black Financial Channel. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the inflation data. Inflation has been a problem. The numbers just came in. They look kind of ugly, and I'm going to tell you guys what to look forward to and what to watch out for as you secure your investments and protect your economic future. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. What's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I am with the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth every day, sometimes as much as 10 times a day under one condition. The condition is that we are Black first. Black first means we put our community at the top of our priority list. Black first means that we educate our kids. Black first means that we are the chosen people and we know it and we're going to act like it. So if you agree with that philosophy, put a hashtag B in the number one in the chat, hashtag B1. I spoke to Dr. Claude Anderson yesterday and he wanted me to remind you of how special you are. And we want to embrace that specialness by holding the standard for our people that's going to make us great as we deserve to be. So if you agree with that, put a B1 in the chat, hashtag B, and the number one is the calling card. All right, so my name is Corey. Says thanks for the Forex class. So we're learning a ton. Yeah, in the Black Business School, if you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, we do have a Forex masterclass. If you go to the website or email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, they can guide you to the class. Or also you can see some of the classes we offer on boycewatkins.com. So if you go to boycewatkins.com, my name, or if you're on Instagram, click the link in the bio. You can see all that stuff. And last night we do our weekly Powernomics conversations where we're going through Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, where we are learning the secret history of Black wealth, the secret history of all the wealth that was stolen from you, why you deserve reparations, because we concluded that part of the reason that it's hard to fight for what we deserve, because a lot of people don't even know what we deserve. A lot of people don't even know about all the money that was stolen, the different parties that were involved, who did what, and who to hold accountable. So that's what we're doing every Wednesday night. And we've been doing this. We're on about our 35th lecture now. And I do this every Wednesday. And some of you were there last night. So it was great to see you. All right. So hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Answer me yes or no. How many of you saw the inflation numbers that just came out? Did any of you saw the inflation numbers? Meta, I love you too. What did you see? Did you see the inflation numbers that just came out? How did you feel about what you saw? Give me a yes or no, and I'm going to put it into context for you. So the inflation data came out. Let me just give you a quick summary on CNBC. It says that the consumer price index for all items rose 0.6% in January, driving up annual inflation by 7.5%. That marked the biggest gain since February 1982 and was even higher than the Wall Street estimate. Core inflation rose 6%, which also was a notch above expectations. Real earnings for workers increased just 0.1% on the month when accounting for inflation. Weekly jobless claims declined to 223,000 from 230,000, the 230,000 estimate. Now, let me give you an interpretation. I'm gonna give you a Dr. Boyce breakdown of what those numbers mean and what they might mean for your stocks and what you just kind of want to look out for. First of all, these high inflation numbers are very concerning. They're very concerning. I mean, this is the highest since 1982. That's a very big deal. Second of all, a lot of workers are making more money now because of the Great Resignation and the tight labor market. Tight labor market means it's hard to find workers. And so what's happening is workers are jumping from job to job, which is fine. And they're getting pay raises, right? Because they're switching jobs. But here's what's interesting. They're basically saying that when you account for inflation, your wages aren't going up that much. Workers' wages are hardly moving. They're hardly wiggling. Even with the Great Resignation, even with the tight labor market, even with higher salaries. Amazon just announced, I don't know if y'all saw that. Did anybody see this? Amazon just announced that there's now starting a lot of their people in their corporate office with base pay of $350,000 a year. Not everybody gets that. That's the max base pay now. But they increased that because they were like, God, we have so much trouble getting workers. We're going to have to pay them more. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that much. Inflation is eating away at your salary. Okay, that's what they're saying. They're saying that if you account for inflation, workers' wages only went up 0.1% on the month. That's not very much. 0.1 times 12 would be 1.2% per year. A 1% increase a year ain't really that big of a deal. In most years, your wages are actually going down because inflation outweighs increases in pay. That's one of the big problems with America. This is why every Black person should be an investor. Do not let your kids go out here without owning some assets, because inflation benefits wealthy people. Inflation pushes up the price of assets. This is what they call asset inflation. It pushes up the price of stocks. It pushes up the price of real estate. So if you own stock and you own real estate, then when inflation goes up, your wealth goes up. But if you don't own stocks and don't own real estate, and you're working paycheck to paycheck and just making money, spending it, making more money, spending it again, you're going backwards. You're actually hustling backwards. And what's really sad is you're actually working harder than the wealthy people who just own capital, right? So put your children in a position to own capital. It doesn't take much. I have a $5 a day investing plan that I share with all my students in the Black Stock Market program. It's very easy to implement, and it's something that will make a big difference in your family, right? So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you want to see some of the resources that we have there that can help you. All right, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Let's keep digging into this a little bit deeper. Another interesting thing that happened yesterday that I thought was really fascinating was how many of you saw, give me a yes or no if you saw that Snoop Dogg purchased Death Row Records. Anybody see that? That was pretty cool. Snoop Dogg by Snoop Doggy Dogg. Anyway, Snoop Dogg just bought Death Row Records, and that was an interesting acquisition, I thought, because I don't know if y'all remember that the Death Row Records ended up being bought by a Swedish company that actually owned Mr. Potato Head. I think it was Hasbro they ended up owning Death Row Records, and it was kind of sad because basically they were like, yeah, we own it, but we don't really care. Like, we don't even know, we care so little about Death Row Records that we don't even know that we own it, and we don't want you guys to own it. But there's some old pictures of Snoop and Suge Knight, scariest man in history, MC Hammer, who actually was more gangster than he gave off. I heard MC Hammer was kind of gangster, but he didn't look gangster with those big floppy pants. And Tupac, of course, and there's Snoop and Dr. Dre back in the day, and Snoop and Master P after he left Death Row Records to go out east, and so Death Row Records was interesting to me because that was really $1 trillion opportunity that was thrown away because basically because of what I call a lack of fertile economic soil. Death Row Records died, in my view, because the people in charge of this asset that would have been worth at least maybe a few $100 billion, the people that were in charge of the ship didn't know how to drive the ship. They weren't mature enough. The culture messed things up. Now, I've talked to you guys a lot about wealth and how culture is more important than training. Culture is more important than training. I could go out to China right now. When I went out to China 2 years ago, I ran into probably 5,000 entrepreneurs who never went to business school. 5,000 entrepreneurs getting money every day who never ever learned how to start a business. 5,000 entrepreneurs who didn't go to Harvard and Yale and get MBAs. None of that. You know what they had? They had culture. They had family culture, where they were raised in a certain way. There was a hierarchy in the family. You respect your father, you respect your mother. Everybody's on code. In the family, there's a culture of if you want to go make money, here's how you serve your customer. Here's how you go out and hustle. Here's how you run an orderly business. There was a culture that said, if you have siblings, you get together with your siblings and you go out here and you survive together economically by starting that little hustle, and you go make that money, and everybody has a role. Everybody, like a football team, everybody has a position to play. Everybody plays their position. That's culture. Death Row Records died, in my view, because you had culture that was contradictory to economic progress. See, what I want you to understand here is this. Look, war is only profitable to the people who are selling the weapons. War is only profitable to people who are manufacturing all the necessities for war, right? So if I sell weapons to both sides, I'm getting money. If I'm selling food to the soldiers, I'm getting money. If I'm building tanks and missiles, I'm getting money. But the soldiers themselves, the sides that are battling, almost never make money. So Death Row Records, unfortunately, because you had that gang culture kind of thing going on, it was pretty heavy at that time. It still exists, but I think a lot of these guys have matured. You had war happening. And when there's war, it's very difficult to have prosperity in the middle of war. So you're going into the studio, you're trying to be productive. You want to sit down and make an album, and your album's going to sell 1 million copies, but you can't because people are coming in there beating each other up, putting guns to each other's heads, threatening to kill each other. Well, that creates a type of toxic environment that makes it very difficult for you to be very productive, right? And then also, You have just that whole issue of just, if everybody's sitting around smoking and drinking all the time, it's very difficult to be productive. So one of the things about death row is I saw death row as one of the great missed opportunities of all time. Death row records had a lock on an emerging industry called hip hop music, that gangster rap in particular, that where they were literally the mecca of gangster rap. They were like what the Vatican is for the Catholic Church. And when Tupac and Suge and Snoop and Dre were all on the cover of Death Row. I think Dre was on that cover too. Yeah, and they're all just looking tough, whatever. Like that was the coolest thing out there. Like that, talk about brand building and brand association. Everybody thought highly of Death Row Records, and unfortunately, that ship got drove off a cliff. So what's occurred since then is you had some guys that survived that era, some guys that did not. The guys that survived the era were the guys who were thinking more long term. Snoop said, I have to get out of here because I want to grow old. I want to watch my kids grow up. I want to see my grandkids. Dr. Dre said, oh man, I got to go out. He's made music about how he said, like, I got to get away from all this. I'm going to the suburbs. I'm gonna raise my family out here so we can be safe. But then you had some people that wanted to go all the way to the limit. Tupac, unfortunately, just really pushed everything to the limit. He made Hit 'Em Up. Willie D is a friend of mine. Willie D he was in my wedding. Willie D from the Ghetto Boys has been on this podcast many times. And he said publicly, when I heard Hit 'Em Up, he said, I said to myself, somebody finna get killed. That's how he said. He said, man, I said to myself, somebody finna get killed. All right. And so ultimately, a lot of this was driven by white supremacy, because it was basically the white media outlets that were creating this East Coast, West Coast differential, this East Coast, West Coast beef that wasn't really there. Right. But they created it. And ultimately, it led to people getting killed. It also led to about $1 trillion in black wealth just disappearing, the snap of a finger. Now, what's happening now, in my view, which I think is great, is I think Snoop Dogg is the guy who can help resurrect the power of the Death Row brand. It's such a powerful brand that 30 years later is still meaningful to a lot of people who were around in that era. So now they can do what the Rolling Stones did. They can, take the Death Row brand on tour, make money off Death Row for the next 30, 40 years. And I think it's going to work. I think it's a great acquisition by Snoop. I don't know how much he paid for it, but I really thought it was awesome when he did it. I think he's going to do good things with this. So that's my assessment on Death Row Records. And I want you to be able to see things like this from a business-minded standpoint. Black folks have to be able to think in terms of business and money so that we can see where the money is. If you see where the money is, then you know how to go get the money, and you'll have more money, because the first step in obtaining resources is knowing where the resources are, knowing where the gold is buried. Okay, so anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, on Friday, I'm doing my last level up conversation for a while. Level up consultations are basically small group discussions with only about 8 people, where you can tell me your business story, tell me what you're working on, tell me what you're trying to solve, tell me your financial issue, and we can talk about it directly face to face. There is a little bit of an elevated price point. It's not cheap, it's not free, but if you're interested, you want to talk to me directly and you want to join the level up, I think we have 2 more spots left. So if you're interested in joining, just go to boycewatkins.com and scroll down and you'll see the link to join the level up. We're going to do one Friday. It'll be the last one I do for quite a while, because I got to get ready for some stuff. The All Black National Convention, we're doing a big event at the Essence Music Fest. So if you go to the Essence Music Fest, just keep your ears open, because we're going to be there for 2 days right next to the Essence. So I'd love for you guys to join us and do some black wealth while we're there. All right, guys. So a couple more things happening in the market that I'm noticing here. Let's see. So I'm scrolling down and looking here. And basically what's interesting about the stock market today is, even though the inflation numbers were not pretty, it's not as if it's led to just a calamity in the market, though. Like the Dow's down about 120 points. That's not, in my view, tragic. So what that pretty much says is that the market had kind of braced for some bad news on inflation. And while it's something that that is concerning, it's not the end of the world. The worst thing I'm thinking about with this inflation is that I believe it could lead to more volatility, because the Federal Reserve may be spooked by these numbers and may end up acting more aggressively than people expect. That's what they call being hawkish. And another interesting thing is that Disney just murdered its numbers, from what I understand. And I've told you guys about Disney for a long time. And Disney was one of our stock picks that I selected for you guys many, many months ago. And so if you were investing consistently in Disney, then you probably noticed a big jump in your stock prices, because Disney did extremely well in its earnings numbers. I'm looking here and it says, analysts across Wall Street sang the praises of Disney after a quarterly print showing a stunning recovery in its parks business. Now, remember, I told you guys this a few months ago that Disney's a beautiful company because they can make money indoors and outdoors. They can make money like Netflix, but they can also make money, like an amusement park. They can make money like a movie studio. They can make money in a lot of ways. The problem with that, obviously, is that there's a lot of expense that comes with maintaining infrastructure during a 2-year pandemic where you can't open up your parks, you can't do your live sports, stuff like that. But once that stuff got popping again, I said Disney is powerful because Disney has the kind of balance sheet where they have the capital base to defend themselves during a prolonged period where they're not making any money or as much money as they made before. And once that's over and Disney's assets start to fire back up again, once that engine starts firing back up again, Disney is gonna murder the game. They're gonna kill it. So Disney's been killing it. I'm a big owner in Disney. I love Disney, and it looks like that's starting to pay off. And remember, though, Disney's also a long-term investment, so it's not something where you're just worried about what they did this week or this month. It's really a matter of 5-year, 10-year horizons. This is a generational wealth kind of company. You own shares in companies like this, and it doesn't have to just be Disney. There's others out there. There's Google. There's Microsoft. Companies like that. Those are the things that make your children rich. So if you're buying your children shares, if you're doing the $5 a day investing plan like I teach you guys in the stock market class, then you can just do that for your kids. Buy big companies like that consistently and hold those stocks. Don't sell them. Don't do anything. You hold those stocks for 20 years. Your kids are going to have no financial problems whatsoever. So how many of you, give me a yes in the chat. It's just so we can make sure we make progress today. How many of you promise me that you are going to make sure that your children avoid the same generational wealth curse that many of you were born into? A lot of you don't have money because you had nobody who planted an asset base for you. Nobody invested for you consistently. They didn't know. They didn't know how to do it. You know how to do it. So give me a conscious yes to let me know you're going to break that generational wealth curse and make sure your kids are good by the time they get 20, 25 years old. It don't take that much. Seriously, the difference between financial destitution and financial comfort for a lot of people is like just having, if I just had maybe 20 grand in the bank, just $20,000. That's easy. It's very easy to make sure your kids have 20 grand in the bank when they're 25 years old. That's not like you can invest like $1 a day in the market or something, and do that. Right. But imagine being 25 and having like $120,000 available to you. Think about it. You first of all, if I'd had that, I mean, first of all, I would have been very happy to be able to tell my boss to kiss my black ass, right, and know that there would be no financial consequences for doing so. Like I'm here because I want to be, not because I have to be. Number two, you could buy a home whenever you want. Number three, you're not going through life crippled by things like student loans, where you're stressing out trying to figure out how to pay all these bills on some crappy little job. Right. So there's so many different options and opportunities. And then on top of that, you see a great business idea and you need $5 grand to get started. It's easy. It's not like your $1 million dream is not going to exist because you can't get $5,000. One of my girls is starting a hair care brand. And it felt really empowering for me as a father to know that I could go hire a consultant that's charging us $2,000 an hour to make sure my daughter's hair care brand gets off the ground in the right way. Right. It's like, but I did that. I was able to do that because I've got an asset base. So create an asset base for your family and for your kids. It doesn't happen overnight. So when y'all come to class, please don't ask me things like, how do I get $1 million in 2 years? That doesn't happen. I'm sorry. Even when you get a record deal or NBA contract, I mean, that's about it. Talk to me about how you can have $1 million in 20 years. Like we could talk about that. We can figure that out. Okay. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents for today. I hope this conversation was helpful to you. Please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button on your way out. Also, a couple things. I think we have a couple more Black Wealth calendars available. If you're interested in buying a Black Wealth calendar, just go to blackwealthcalendar.com. You can put these on your refrigerator. There's some basic Black Wealth principles for every month, and you can make sure your kids are kind of getting this into their brain at an early age. So blackwealthcalendar.com, and that's about it, guys. So I will see you soon. Take care. Have a great day. Love you. I will talk to you guys later. Be good. Peace.